Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still repeating history in the short term, but we're no longer playing out the bullish divergence and now on the next drop towards the downside, just like what we saw last time, which means we're now targeting major liquidity on this Bitcoin liquidation heat map that we need to pay attention to, alongside Ethereum still playing out this short-term bearish divergence, while the price of XRP is getting closer towards breaking this bearish price pattern. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have that massive bearish divergence technically still playing out on the larger timeframes, which means over a period of weeks, if not months, expect a lack in bullish momentum. So basically weakness for the price of Bitcoin. We can see short-term bullish moves, but the bigger picture still showing a lot of weakness on the larger timeframes. And we can see that here in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD. Overall, we're still looking more bearish than we are bullish in the momentum on the 3-day time frame. And so once again, as I've been saying this entire time, we are still showing a lot of weakness, and we're likely going to see a little bit more bearish price action than bullish price action over a period of weeks, if not months. And obviously over the last few weeks, this has already been playing out as I've been predicting, as I've been warning about. But once again, as I've also been saying this entire time, yes, we could see short-term bullish moves, little bounces here and there on smaller time frames during the larger weakness or the larger cool-off that we're currently seeing on the larger timeframes. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, we can still clearly see the bearish divergence on the daily time frame is technically still active. It's still playing out for the price of Bitcoin, which means overall, obviously, we're looking more bearish than bullish, showing a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum. But once again, we can see short-term bounces from time to time, especially as we run into key points of support like this area right here, where we've seen multiple perfect bounces from over the last 1 week or so. And that's sitting in between around 106.7K to 107.6K. So continue to expect a lot of support in that area right there if we ultimately test that area again. And if the price of Bitcoin actually breaks below that area, so below roughly 106.7K with candle closes below that level, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, we do have a bit of short-term support based on this low at roughly around 105,500, but really the next target based on the Fibonacci levels would be at around 103.3K approximately. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, technically speaking, the shorter term trend, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, is still technically bearish. We're still forming lower highs and lower lows, but once again, we can see short-term bullish price action here and there along the way towards the downside in the bearish trend. And so now, obviously, price structure that would point towards a bullish trend reversal would be, for example, a breakout above a previous high, actually confirming a new higher high or some sort of higher low. So for example, if we bounce before we actually break below around 107,500, if we bounce, let's just say somewhere right here, and then come back up and break out above around 113,500, in that situation, that would be a bullish trend reversal signal pointing towards a reversal of the overall short-term trend and not just these short-term little moves during the trend. But as I've been saying every day over the last half a week for almost 1 week now, history is repeating in the short term. We're seeing obviously a short-term bullish divergence here on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, similar to this short-term bullish divergence on the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart. And obviously what happened last time with this previous bullish divergence a little over a week ago was indeed a short-term bullish relief, a bit of a bounce back towards the upside just for a few days or so, around 2 to 3 days, give or take, in the price of Bitcoin before ultimately reversing and continuing the trend. Obviously, we're still in a bearish trend on the 4-hour time frame, still lacking bullish momentum, especially on the larger time frames. And so this is why I've been saying since pretty much all the way back down here, I've been saying for the next few days, expect a short-term bullish relief, expect some bullish price action just in the short term for a few days or so, and then ultimately expect another drop as a very likely scenario after that short-term bullish relief. And obviously this is all playing out as I've been predicting since all the way back here. And as of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is potentially running into a bit of short-term support based on these previous lows just here, but also based on previous resistance right here. And that support is currently sitting at around 109,500, so around 109.5K. And if we actually break below that level, in that situation, the next major support is once again this area sitting in between 106.7 106.7k to 107.6k. And so for the bulls out there, at least there is that good news that we do have a bit of support below the price, especially around these lows just here acting as key support, which means as we're continuing this little pullback, of course, it is possible we could bounce from one of these levels of support and see just a slight relief in the immediate short term. But once again, overall, we're still lacking bullish momentum, which means, yes, we could see some short-term bullish price action here and there, but don't expect a massive sustained bullish move towards the upside, especially on the much larger timeframes here, at least over the next few weeks, maybe over the next 1 month. And obviously, I've already been saying that since around the all-time highs around a month ago, and clearly over the last 1 month, it's been playing out as I've been warning about. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we still technically have a bit of liquidity above the price. First of all, we have some at around 114,000 and around 116,000. But with that being said, we still have a lot of liquidity below the price, just below these previous lows here, sitting at around 106.8k to 107.1k approximately. So roughly 107,000. We have a lot of liquidity right there. And so we have to keep in mind there is a quite likely scenario. As always, no guarantees, no such thing as 100% guarantee, but there's a likely scenario that we could come back down to possibly retest these lows, maybe even see a little candle wick towards the downside below these lows, just to simply take out that liquidity. And then considering we still have some decent support around this region, for as long as we don't confirm candle closes on the daily time frame below that area, roughly 107,500, for example, in that situation, it's possible we could see maybe another short-term bounce after we take out that liquidity just below these lows. And obviously that's pretty much exactly like what we saw last time. Once again, history still repeating. Last time we saw the bullish divergence, then a bullish relief, then another drop continuing the bearish trend, but we only dropped just below the previous low in the price of Bitcoin to take out liquidity before ultimately seeing another short-term bullish relief. So that is a likely scenario. Once again, no guarantees, but it's likely we could move towards that liquidity and then maybe in a couple of days from now, see another little bullish relief. And so overall, those are my expectations in the shorter term, and looking at the bigger picture here and the key levels that I'm watching on the price chart. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I take a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX. So I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive bonuses. For example, you can claim up to $25,000 in bonuses simply just by trading crypto using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also Pinex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Pinex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some massive bonuses. For example, if you simply just make an account and complete KYC, it takes about 60 seconds to do this. You get a free $50 bonus from the exchange onto your Pinex account just by making an account and completing KYC. And then also if you make a deposit, so for example, a $100 deposit, you get a $100 deposit bonus onto your account. Or if you deposit up to $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus onto your Pinex account. But remember, all of these bonuses here are only available if you're using that link. So definitely check it out. Second link below this video. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance on the 3-day time frame, we could still see a bit of a short-term bounce in the Bitcoin dominance. And while we're seeing a bounce in the Bitcoin dominance, that is not really good news for the altcoin market. And now, technically speaking, the larger pullback is still currently in play. We've not yet reversed the larger bearish price structure, which means overall, technically, this is good for altcoins if we stay in the larger pullback. But once again, during the larger pullback, we can see short-term bounces here and there. And while we're seeing just the short-term bounce that we're currently seeing in the Bitcoin dominance, especially while this is happening at the same time as a slight pullback in the price of Bitcoin, essentially this is extra bad news for altcoins just in the immediate short term while this bounce is happening in the Bitcoin dominance. And so if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, obviously we could see a short-term pullback currently for Ethereum, but Ethereum is still in the same sideways price range as I've been saying the price will stay in over the last 1 to 2 weeks. Obviously, I've been predicting that the price is likely just going to bounce around in this sideways price range for the time being, for the coming days, if not weeks. And so obviously this is still playing out as I've been predicting, and I still expect this moving forward at least over the next few days. And in case you're new to the channel, this area of support for the sideways price range is sitting in between around 3.9k to 4.1k, and this area of resistance is still sitting in between around 4.8k to 4.9k. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, technically speaking, we're still playing out this bearish divergence. We've not yet confirmed an invalidation signal to properly invalidate the bearish divergence, which means overall expect a lack in bullish momentum and a lot of weakness for the price of ETH, at least in the somewhat shorter term, but also due to the fact that obviously we're above some major support. Ultimately, this is causing a lot of sideways price action, bouncing around sideways, exactly as I've been saying over the last 1 week. And so honestly, expect something similar moving forward, maybe even just a slight little pullback. If the Bitcoin dominance continues a bit of a bounce once again, maybe we could end up seeing a retest of this support at roughly 4,000, give or take, could be a likely scenario if we see a further bounce in the Bitcoin dominance, and especially if the Bitcoin price is also pulling back. So overall though, expect the price to remain in this sideways price range for Ethereum. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, Solana is playing out something similar, obviously in the shorter term, technically playing out some choppy sideways price action, but the larger or longer term trend, the larger price structure for Solana, technically still bullish, just like the longer term trend for Ethereum. We've not yet confirmed a larger bearish trend reversal, but just in the immediate short term, obviously we're just cooling off a little bit, but still showing bullish price structure because we're still holding above this major area of support here for the price of Solana, sitting in between around 190 to 200. And only if we confirm candle closes below around $190, especially if we fail to get back above that area, in that situation, it's extremely likely we'll see a drop down towards roughly 167 to 170. But for now, obviously, still expect a lot of support at 190 to 200. And as for resistance, we have a lot of resistance at around 214 to 215 and more resistance at around 230. And honestly, I expect a lot of sideways price action for the price of Solana, basically bouncing around sideways over the next few days is a very likely scenario, basically lacking momentum to either direction due to the fact that obviously we're seeing just a slight bounce in the Bitcoin dominance, and with Bitcoin cooling off in the shorter term, but not really showing a lot of momentum to either direction, kind of just bouncing around relatively sideways for the time being. This will likely impact the price of Solana and other altcoins to do something similar. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, obviously, despite what happens in the shorter term on smaller time frames, we're technically still playing out the much larger bearish divergence, with higher highs still confirmed in the price, lower highs still confirmed in the weekly XRP RSI, which means over a period of weeks, if not months, expect a larger cool off, most likely a larger pullback for the price of XRP. And obviously, I've been saying that every day for over a month now on the channel since almost all-time highs, since around $3.40. I've been warning about this larger pullback over August leading into September, and obviously this has all been playing out as I've been warning about since the beginning of August. And if we're taking a look at this daily XRP price chart, the price is now starting to reject from this Fibonacci level, which was previous support back here, now acting as new resistance at roughly $2.90, but really in between around $2.85 to $2.90. That is the area of resistance to watch out for. And if we were to break out back above $2.90 with candle closes above that level and actually holding above that level, in that situation, the next horizontal resistance is based on these highs right here, sitting at approximately $3.08. And as for support, we still have a lot of support based on this previous low and also this latest low, sitting at roughly $2.75. But if we see candle closes below $2.75, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, we have this area to watch out for based on previous significant resistance, likely acting as major support now, sitting at around $2.55 to $2.62. But once again, the immediate support is at around $2.75. The immediate resistance is in between $2.85 to $2.90. And overall, obviously, we're still showing a lot of weakness, mainly as a result of the larger bearish divergence I've been warning about for over a month now on the channel. And if we're taking a look at this daily XRP price chart, technically speaking, we're still forming a descending triangle pattern, which is statistically a bearish price pattern. But as of recording this video, we've not yet actually confirmed the break either to the downside or to the upside for this price pattern, which means we've not confirmed any price target or any trading strategy, not currently in play, at least for now. And in case you're wondering, this line of support is still sitting at roughly $2.75, and this line of resistance is still sitting at roughly $3. And like I've warned about many times recently here on the channel, if the price actually first confirms candle closes, confirms at least a daily candle close below 275, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, in that situation, that would activate a bearish price target for this price pattern. But before hitting that bearish price target, obviously it would first run into this support here in between 255 to 262 as the immediate target if we first break below 275. And so that is a possible trading opportunity coming soon. Once again, not financial advice, not yet confirmed, but a possible trading opportunity. And of course, this is the time to get set up ready to go on a crypto exchange using the links below this video to take advantage of those major bonuses on those exchanges so that you can actually trade crypto whenever these opportunities happen. And if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's something similar for Chainlink. We're still showing a lot of weakness cooling off in the shorter term for the price of Chainlink. And clearly over the last one day, we actually rejected from around $24. So like I've been saying, in between roughly $24 to $25, we still have strong resistance right there. And above that, also strong resistance in between $26.70 to $27. So close to $27, still expect strong resistance for the price of Chainlink, as I've been warning about since before we perfectly rejected from that level. And as for support, if we continue the pullback here, we could find a bit of short-term support at roughly 22.30 to 22.40, but ultimately the next major support is closer towards around 21.40, give or take, based on this low. But really in between $20 to $21 is the crucial area on the price chart that we need to hold above in order to maintain the larger bullish price structure, because technically speaking, it is possible to see some decent pullbacks along the way during a much larger bullish trend. But if we were to see candle closes below, let's just say $20, breaking below this key area on the price chart, especially if we fail to get back above that area, that'd be a significant change in the larger or longer term price structure for the price of Chainlink, pointing towards potentially a much larger drawdown over a much longer period of time, not just a short-term move. But obviously, at least for now, that's not yet confirmed. That's still acting as support that we need to pay attention to. And of course, one of the major reasons as to why we're seeing this pullback and a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum, is due to the fact that we're still playing out this bearish divergence, as I've been warning about every day since basically around these highs right here, close to $27. I've been saying we have a bearish divergence, which means we're most likely going to be lacking bullish momentum for a period of days, if not weeks. Showing a lot of weakness and likely pulling back a little bit is a very likely scenario. And obviously over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've been seeing that as predicted. And considering we've not confirmed any invalidation signal to invalidate this bearish divergence, it means this will likely continue at least over the coming days. But remember, even during bearish price action, you can still make profits in crypto using things like short positions, for example. And so obviously, if you want to trade these moves, definitely get set up ready to go using those links below this video to those exchanges. And of course, if you want to know how you can trade these moves no matter what direction the price goes, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.